is the Podcast Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there. Welcome to 5 Minutes of Trouble, the only podcast that discussed the 1986 John Carpenter film Big Trouble in Little China 5 minutes at a time. I'm Josh Horowitz, and my co-host Brett Stillo and I attended the July 25th, 2026 40th anniversary screening of Big Trouble in Little China at the Gardena Cinema in Gardena, California. We were fortunate enough to be able to head up a Q&A panel after the screening, and it was an incredible collection of talented stunt people, actors, and crew. Present that evening were Wing Kong actors and martial artists Gerald Okamura, who played the Hatchet Man with the Golden Six Shooters, Lap Nguyen, Yukio Collins, Joycelyn Liu, and Keith Jung. On the Chang Sing side were actors and martial artists James Liu, Daryl Chan, Gary Toy, George Chung, R.C. Bautista, and the late Kenny Endoso's grandson, Nick. We also had all three Lords of Death present that night, including Jeff Imada, Craig Ng, and Rommel Moore, as well as actor Donald Lee, who played the role of Eddie, the maitre d' of the Dragon of the Black Pool, and a whole lot more in the film. Finally, a bunch of crew members who worked on the film were there, including musician Alan Howarth, puppeteer Chris Mason, monster maker Todd Masters, special makeup effects artist Steve Johnson, and location and visual consultant Jason O'Hare. I have to say, it was an amazing evening filled with some great stories from this talented group, and I'm happy to present an edited recording of the Q&A panel from that night. Note that the quality of the recording is somewhat spotty at times, but hopefully you can appreciate the glimpse into an incredible evening at the Gardena Cinema. Special thanks go out to Gerald Okamura and Gabe Frimmel for helping make this event happen, as well as Judy Kim and the tireless volunteer staff at the Gardena Cinema. And of course, tip of the hat to Brett Stillo for making the trip down from San Francisco to attend and help host the panel with me. And now, without further ado, here's the recording of the Q&A panel of the cast and crew of Big Trouble in Little China, discussing their involvement in the film 40 years later. Just to give you guys a little bit of an introduction here, my name is Josh Horowitz. I am one of the co-hosts of the podcast 5 Minutes of Trouble, along with the webmaster of the Wing Kong Exchange, wingkong.net, for any of you guys that remember that one. And my co-host all the way from San Francisco is here, Mr. Brett Stillo.
All the way from Chinatown, so to speak. There were only there's really only 2 scenes in the whole movie that were actually filmed in San Francisco, but maybe we have some people who could tell us more about that. So, good evening. But we don't want to hear us talk about the movie. You want to hear the people who made the movie talk about it. So, why don't we bring everybody up? We took the liberty of putting your names on chairs. You cannot keep the chairs, but go ahead and have a seat. Hello.
Hi, I'm Joycelyn Liu.
Hi, I'm Keith Jung, Wing Kong. Jason O'Hare with doing the majority of the locations here in Los Angeles and Chinatown.
I'm Daryl Chan, and I played Wing Kong and a Chang Sing.
Chris Mason, I was a puppeteer on The Flying Eye.
Hi, Donald Lee. Alan Howarth here, Mr. Composer with John Carpenter.
Gerald Okamura, Golden Six Shooter.
My name is James Liu. I got to get to the man himself for the director of this amazing movie. Pitched to him some of my stuff, and somehow we got it going, and he liked what I thought and got hired, and here it is. Big Trouble in Little China.
I'm George Chung. I'm Wing Kong. I'm Chang Sing. Okay, so we work as a team on that show. I saw El Leon die 5 times on the damn thing, but we all did. But what James was saying that basically that was kind of like his story, a little bit his idea, and he was also the producer on the show, and you saw his handsome face on the screen constantly, right? Give him some big hands, please. Come on, man. And I do believe that Big Trouble in Little China was like a pioneer film for all the Asians. we did not get the recognition, as Jeff Imada said before, the film. But when that film came out, we really feel empowered as a race. So let's keep this going, guys. Thank you.
I'm Steve Johnson, and I'm responsible for leading the team that did the animatronic effects and the prosthetic effects.
I'm Todd Masters. I also worked at the creature department on Big Trouble in Little China at Boss Films Corp.
I'm Craig Ying, if you don't recognize me. This will help a little bit. I also, a tidbit of information, my uncle is James Hong. Wish he was here tonight. And James was, I've known other women for 200 years, Mr. Jack Burton. This pisses me off to no end.
Yukio Collins. I was fortunate to work with all the masters. My specialty is stunts, to be in the background. But the people they pulled in for this was amazing. Generations, Gerald, James, all these other guys that you can't see wearing the yellow and red. They were great. But anyway, I'm Yukio Collins.
Hi, I'm Jeff Imada. Sorry to be late.
Well, we have a very large cast and crew over here for our 40th anniversary of Big Trouble in Little China. I think one of the ways that we're going to organize this is kind of get the different groups. So we have the Wing Kong, we have the Chang Sing, and we have the people who worked on the film in other capacities. So we're just going to kind of see if we can organize it that way, and then afterward, when we're going to get through everything, we'll try to get some audience questions as well.
Let's not forget the Lords of Death.
And the Lords of Death. That's right.
Sensitive gang.
That's right. We have two of the three. Actually, all three Lords of Death were here tonight. Rummel Moore was here earlier. I think he had to step out. But yes, there are good guys, there are bad guys, and they're all represented here. And this is a great opportunity for everybody, and we're all very happy to have you here. Let me just see, show of hands, who are the Wing Kong of this group? All right? We have the Wing Kong. Okay. And who are the Chang Sing? Now you'll notice, however, that there are some Wing Kong and Chang Sing who raised their hand twice. Can somebody talk about why that was the case? I think Jeff might be able to answer that question.
Yeah, at the time, because of the amount of fights that were going on and everybody that was involved, we had to some of us had to double up and look like other people and have mustaches, beard, short hair, long hair, patches, so we were doubling up on both sides and hopefully not fighting each other fighting themselves at the same time. But no, I'm serious. But there were not a lot of, because there was so much going on, there was not a lot of Asian stunt people at that time, the amount that they needed, so some of us had to double up or even quadruple up. So I know I played probably about, during the two fights, the arcade and the alley fight, I probably ended up playing about 10 or 12 different people. But I know some other people doubled up too, because we had to make sure that we could get everything done. And also some of the camera moves involved panning over and seeing, as you guys saw, some other fights going on at the same time. So.
And we also have, two of the Lords of Death. So raise your hand, Lords of Death. Lords of Death? Uh-huh. Jeff as well. And then we have the people behind the scenes. So if you were behind the scenes, please raise your hand. Right. So we have a whole representation here. Okay. For the people who are part of the Wing Kong, I'm just going to throw it out there for whoever wants to answer this one. Oh, wait a minute. Donald, you weren't a member of any of those. Who did you play, Donald? Eddie. The maitre d' and a whole lot more. Now, starting with the Wing Kong, though, if anybody wants to take the mic and answer this, tell us just how you got involved in Big Trouble in Little China. You want to start with Gerald? Okay. How did you get started get involved in Big Trouble in Little China?
For me, I'll just talk about me being a Wing Kong. All of us, I think, started like a audition, kind of like a cattle call audition for John Carpenter. And I took a student. I was doing a lot of martial arts stuff and weapons as well. But when they told me that I got the job, I had to report to the prop department the next day. And when I got there, they handed me 2 gold-plated, pearl-handled 6-shooters. And I said, okay. I don't know if all of you are aware that Big Trouble Little China was supposed to be a Western. I think by now all of you knew that. And I took it that maybe John wanted one guy to be a cowboy, so he gave me 2 gold-plated handles. I do represent Wing Kong. Like, I'm not some of the more privileged guys like Jeff that had to be like Lords of Death, and he's also a Wing Kong at one time, and he was also Chang Sing. So he got a lot of. I was one of those guys that to add to that wardrobe, the guy says, "Whoa, wait a minute! John wants you to have 2 bandoleros." I said, "Yeah, for the character." And when they handed it to me, I don't know if some of you were aware. Those bullets was about that big. If I had to reload a 6-shooter, it wouldn't fit, right? So that was kind of the joke, I guess, for the character. Yes, I was a Wing Kong, but at the time, I want to say I was the only bald-headed guy there. And with the outfit I had, I would go when John needed like 8 stunt guys. I would go out there, and then John would say, "You 2 recognizable. Just go back to craft service. Have another cup of coffee." So if that's kind of addressing us Wing Kong, no. You're a Chang Sing. Now this mic is for the Wing Kong only.
Gerald, I never liked you. You know what Wing Kong means in Chinese? Yes. No. Wing Kong means forever defensive. You're always defensive. And Chang Sing, what it mean? Forever victory. That's what we are. So, Chang Sing against the Wing Kong. You guys are nothing. How do we do the Chang Sing sign? Actually, there's you guys remember that Chang Sing sign? That was actually by James Liu. So everybody can you do us a favor here and do the Chang Sing sign together on 3. 3, 2, 1. Let me see it. Okay, well, I don't see everybody doing it.
I'm Wing Kong.
Okay, you show it.
So to give a little more style,
Yes.
and it's out here.
Wow. Okay.
So this turns out to be a block or a punch.
Wow.
So you're always ready. You never know who might try to take your job.
Now,
All right, come on.
a
Give
question.
it up. Give it up.
We know the Wing Kong to be a ruthless, bloodthirsty organization, but they were way ahead in equal opportunity employment. So, Joycelyn Liu, can you talk about being a female Wing Kong along with Leah Chang?
Hi. So we had to wear the red turbans, but the guys did all the heavy stuff. And we just did some fighting, but more like I learned more martial arts afterwards. But what I did do, I was just talking to these guys about the premiere. James Hong, who played, the wizard with the eyes that popped, he asked me if I could do a Chinese fan dance. So I thought I'd do a little costume with a fan dance. And he said no, like Sally Rand. And that was like a stripper. And so Noelle Toy, who was the madam, is the first Chinese burlesque dancer, and she's in the book of burlesque. So I called her up and I said, Noelle, I said, I want to learn how to do what you did because this is like traditional. And so she came over and she had I mean, she's 80, you know? I mean, she's like amazing. And she came to my door, and she's wearing this black curly ponytail, and she had stretch, iridescent turquoise pants with fringe. And she had a Diet Pepsi with all this pink lipstick on it and these long fuchsia fingernails. And I go, Noelle, hi! And I go, oh, come on in. And she said, well, I'm not really a dancer. I was a model. And I said, oh, well, I was a dancer, so I figured I could do this. And so she said, I just came from San Francisco, and I brought pictures of me when I was doing this. So I was married at the time, and I said, oh, Raphael, come and see Noelle. And he looks at the pictures, and he goes, you're naked? And she goes, yes, I am. And so she goes, my mama didn't know I was doing this. I did this on the side, and she ended up in the World's Fair. So she taught me how to do the burlesque thing. And so for the premiere of Big Trouble in Little China, Danny Kwan was this publicist, I guess he was helping, and he said, you're going to do this fan dance, and they rented this fan from Western Costume. It was $50 a day. And I said, well, I have to have it for 2 days. So I said, for $100, I can make my own fans. So I ended up talking to this guy from Mother Plucka's Feather Company, and he said he could get me these fans for $100, the feathers. So I made my own, and I ended up wearing a G-string, and I was on top of this gold statue, and I ended up dancing with the pasties and a G-string for the premiere of Big Trouble in Little China. And so that was kind of like my big dance number. But I don't think a lot of these guys didn't come to the premiere, I found out. So anyway, that was fun. So
thank you. I wanted to ask to Lap Nguyen on the end there. Now, you're wearing a Wing Kong costume. That's not an original, I take it? No. But
I'm getting richer, so I bought better one.
Yeah. Lap, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience working on the film?
I know Gary Toy and Stuart Kwan. We trained martial art together. So Gary Toy one day come, hey, Lap, let's go making a movie. Because they need some extra with martial art. I said, okay, I'm going there. And so they put me in the bad guy because he's a good guy. So there's one time I remember that because all the martial artists there, they know some background. So sometimes the choreography cannot help everybody. So we do ourselves. So there's one point that I'm doing it with somebody, I don't remember the name by now, but I supposed to be kick him, and he falling down, and he jump over and roll over. But when in that action, I kick him before I jump, and I hit cut, I drop right on top of him. So I take literally cut means stop. But we have fun. He didn't get hurt, lucky.
All right, I think we're going to jump a little bit right now to some of the Chang Sing that we're working on this one. Now, we had a chance at one point to talk with James on our podcast. We've talked with Jeff as well as Gerald. But I haven't heard from some people like Gary Toy and George Chung. So why don't we start with Gary? Gary, can you tell us a little bit about your experience working on the film?
Jeff knows. I see him. I pat him on the back. James, Gerald, these guys opened up the doors for a lot of minorities, not just Asians. But that was a time that we can't forget. We really can't. And I've got total respect. These guys got awards for stunts. These guys are awesome. I'd like to give a hand to them.
Now, do we have Nick here? I remember that it was Kenny Endoso's grandson was here. Is Nick here? I think it would be good if you could tell a little bit, because Kenny had a big influence on this film. We see him in the film as the one who's actually eating the fish.
head
Yeah.
first. And he's one of the well-known Chang Sing. What can you tell us about how things were with your grandfather?
You know, this was his legacy, and this film means so much to us and my family. And honestly, I was born a year and a half after it came out, so I just know all of the stories and the tall tales. And this is the very first time I've seen it on the big screen. I've only watched it in the comfort of the living room, and having Grandpa just stop each scene and be like, "See, that was me. See that guy driving that car? That's also me." So that's how I learned about it.
Let's jump to behind the scenes a bit, though. The behind the scenes doesn't quite seem to work. But Alan Howarth, can you tell us about your work on sound and the music with this movie? I know you worked with John Carpenter on this, but can you tell us about the creative process in creating the music and some of the sound effects?
Sure. Well, of all the scores I did with John Carpenter, I did Halloween, Big Trouble, They Live, a bunch of other stuff. Big Trouble was the best score we ever did, for sure. Working with John Carpenter, he's the director. I mean, he knows what he wants. He sits down, he plays the keyboard. I had all the toys at my house, so I had all the gear. So if you want to think about it, he was the conductor and I was the electronic orchestra. And I produced that stuff. The scope of the movie, going in Chinese fights and truck drivers and stuff, made the scope of the score the best score, because it went to so many different places, so many different chances. We had rock and roll, et cetera, et cetera. Second part, just in the world of technology, in my music studio, we added a thing called MIDI, which was a digital connection from one synthesizer to the next. So now I could play one synthesizer and 9 would play at the same time. So the electronic music production expanded. The third thing, and these guys all know this, there was a delay in the release schedule. So we thought we were going to be done in 10 weeks. We got another month. So I actually got to go back and fine tune and produce it like really it was supposed to be done. So that's why it came out great.
So, this movie, it defies genres. And one thing it is a monster movie. Steve Johnson, could you talk a little bit about where some of the inspiration for some of these amazingly cool creatures came from?
Yeah, well, the inspiration really came from John Carpenter, because here's the thing. John had done, I think The Thing was the movie he had done directly before this, and that set the benchmark for special makeup effects. I mean, amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. Rob Bottin was responsible for that, and John had also done Starman with Rick Baker, and I think Dick Smith worked on that too, right? And I'm like, all of my heroes have worked for John Carpenter. This is great. This is my chance to go in there and show him what I can do. And so I had all these incredible ideas for the Flying Eye and the Wild Man and the Lopan makeup and the sewer creature and all this stuff. And like, finally, I get the opportunity to show what I can do. Finally, a director that loves special effects. The first thing John said to me is, "I hate special effects. You guys, I'm sick of you guys showing up in your limousines and trying to direct my movies. Here's the way we're going to do it." And he just wanted to simplify. So I didn't really get my chance, but it was a really fun movie, and I think that our effects kind of fit the style of the movie, so I'm kind of happy about that. It's all just very lighthearted and cartoony.
Now, continuing on the effects, Todd, can you talk about your experience, Todd Masters?
Well, this was actually my first Hollywood movie, so it was all so new to me. Steve and I drove down this afternoon, and we were just kind of reflecting on how different Hollywood has changed, so today compared to then. And so it was all new to me. I had done certain smaller things before, like commercials and all that, but to see a huge creature shop just going all night long on some of this stuff was just an experience. To have Dana, who played the Wild Man, having him running around ranting about how much the suit didn't help him perform, and you would hear his voice coming out of this hairy thing. And Steve and I are, we're so particular because we want it to be one way, and Dana never listened. He didn't want to have direction really, because he just was so hot and just kind of miserable. And so you'll notice he's supposed to be up on his tiptoes, almost like a dog leg, but he's always flat-legged, and his toes go boing, boing, boing.
Here's his booming quote: "Why don't you try walking on your toes for an hour? See how you like it."
It's like Dana's here, but no, it was quite an eye-opener for an 18-year-old kid that just rolled into town. So the flying eye, what's the term that everybody else uses for the flying eye?
The Guardian?
The Guardian. We called it the flying eye because it flew and it had eyes. But that was a really complicated piece of animatronics for the time. It was actually made oversized, so if you notice when he gets stabbed in the forehead, it's an oversized blade. So it's kind of wild to think about it. There was a time when we were puppeteering the flying eye that we all had to stop because the famous shuttle explosion happened on this film. And we were all like behind the flying eye puppeteering, and suddenly all our monitors turned to the famous shuttle explosion back there. So that quite a moment in time, for instance.
And actually, we were just talking about the flying eye. Chris, can you talk a little bit about your role working on the flying eye, our Guardian?
I only worked on this thing for like a day or two, and there were like 8 or 10 of us behind this giant. The flying eye was probably maybe this big around, if I remember. Yeah, it was huge, and everybody had a lever, and we were just doing this. The thing I remember the most is the knife stab into the head, as we kept trying to do it over and over again, and finally somebody came up with the idea of doing it in reverse. So we were all extended with the knife in, and they pulled the knife, and then everybody relaxed. And it was like, I think I was 23 when I did that. It was fun.
So here's a question. Was there just one sort of hero flying eye, or did you have several for different shots and different scenes? Is there a family of them somewhere?
No, we actually had to make a specific blue screen. We did this under the umbrella of Richard Edlund's Boss Film Corporation, who also handled all the optical effects. But we made two basic, complicated ones. One we could see from the front, one we could see from the back, because we just couldn't fit all the mechanics in there. And then there was another one that basically was just a rod puppet, had nothing in it, where it was spun around after it gets shot, I think. And
that one was smaller.
That one was smaller. So yeah, so there was one that we saw from the front, one we saw from the back.
And do you know where the Wild Man suit is now, or does it still exist, or?
It was on eBay several years ago. I would be shocked.
Some guy called me up and found the original animatronic head, and he bought it for like $25,000, $30,000. He goes, "Can you restore this?" And he sent me a picture of it, and it was literally just the understructure. The whole thing had rotted away. So we did restore it, but meaning we had to completely resculpt it. So it does exist somewhere now.
Now, there are lots of different locations in this film. In addition to the streets of Chinatown in real San Francisco, there's also all the great sets that were created on the 20th Century Fox lot. There's all these underground and above ground. There's even that place that Egg Shen has that was used in Ghostbusters. Jess, maybe you can tell us a little bit about some of the locations that were worked on, that your father, you said you were working on.
What it is, first of all, so much went into this film. I think you guys could all see we had a lot of hurdles we had to overcome, a lot of last-minute permits we had to gather, more control, and a budget type of thing, keeping it here within the 30-mile radius of Los Angeles. I dealt with a lot of no parking signs, whether it would be things we had to go around and give pamphlets to the store owners saying we're going to have simulated gunfire, hiring of fire department, hiring of security, hiring of caterers, hiring of, the list goes on. This was back in the time where I think a lot of people will also say, way before French time. We were all getting golden, filming about 15, 16, 17 hours to be able to put this film on the big screen. I remember being with my dad in the back of Crown Victorian, right here in Chinatown, getting 2 hours of sleep, listening to a radio in case we had to go open up a door, turn off a light, pay somebody to turn off that light, whatever it would be to get this film up and going. We had a little bit of a scare at that time, which I don't know if a lot of you knew, dealing with Madame Wong's, which was across the way here in Chinatown. Madame Wong's was a beautiful architectural building. The only problem was they had a lot of underground concerts, a lot of the gangs hung out there. So we had to keep a good watch out to make sure they didn't extrude out to where we were filming.
Oh, jeez.
The people of Chinatown are great. When my dad first found that area for us to continue to film, and not really so much as concentrating on San Francisco, which you can see that a lot of it was filmed there also. Again, dealing with the budget and the time restraints. And, you know, my mom's an executive producer, my producer, co-producer, you name it. A lot of the time my dad would go up there and say, hey, do you feel like staying in town or do you want to get away? Depending upon the budget. A lot of them will say, hey, let me stay here. I love being home. I don't want to stay in a hotel for weeks on end, whatnot. The beauty about this all is, I think the casting did a second to none job of getting everybody on this film. Each and every single one of these people that you see behind me, we couldn't have done it without them. If it was anybody else, who knows how long it would have taken. The fighting choreography, again, second to none. Special effects, top tier. My parents were once known as the best in the business, was finding locations as a duo, and the first to do it in Hollywood. So I'm guessing everybody here with their profession is the best there is, and that's why they hired them for this single job.
And it shows in the film. You guys all did great. So I'm going to turn a little bit back to some of the cast here. Let me talk to you a little bit, Craig. So the Lords of Death, they all had very interesting names. None of you may know this, but if you look in the credits at the end, we had Needles, which Jeff played. We had One Ear, which you played, and we had Joe Lucky. Now, we actually learned from an interview we did a while back that you were called Needles because you actually had little sewing needles that you put in your mouth. Do you recall, Craig, why you were called One Ear?
Because I fell in love with this woman and I cut my ear off and sent it to her. No. I have no idea. No idea.
Well, tell us a little bit about what it was like to work as one of the Lords of Death, doing the airport scene, just being a part of all of this.
This movie was my breakthrough movie to get into the union. So before this, I was working on whatever I could get. And this was my dream movie, to work on a big budget movie with people that I had always looked up to, Jeff Amato, James Liu. And I moved out from San Francisco to LA to someday work with these people. And so this was my moment. And so my first day of working, I said, I gotta be completely prepared, relaxed, and just ready to work. And I went into a spa place and got all relaxed and went to a spa. And I show up, perfect timing and everything. I get there, and they put me in the makeup chair. Everything is super rush. And I'm like going, where's all the other actors? Where everybody else? And then I said, we got to get you to set. We got to get you to set. Keep this going faster and faster. Next thing, I show up on the set. This is the alley scene. All the gangs are there. It's this huge production. Everything's going on. And they do my scene, and my one line is, hey, Wang Chi, been looking for us? So you go, let's do the rehearsal. We get in the cars. I get out. We walk up. And Jeff says, hey, Wang Chi, been looking for us? And I go, what's going on? And the little voice says, you gotta say something, Craig. You gotta say something. This is your moment. Otherwise, everything is gonna be gone. You won't get your line, and I won't get in the union. It just goes crazy. So I go over to John, who I gotta say is great to have the patience to listen to me. And I said, John, my line was given away. And he says, well, you showed up pretty late. And I was like, I showed up on time. He goes, you didn't get the call change time? And I said, no one told me about it. I didn't have an answering machine or anything. So luckily, he saw my sincerity and said, okay, how about we do this? Jeff says, hey, Wang Chi, and you say, been looking for us. And I was like, okay, yeah. So we do the scene. He comes out and says, hey, Wang Chi. I say, been looking for us, and bam, I'm in. So.
everything was saved, and I had a whole career after that of doing lots of films and still active in it.
That's great. Now, Donald, I'm curious to hear about your experience. It's not very often that we get to hear from one of the actors who worked very closely with the main cast over here. So why don't you tell us about your story and how you got involved in Big Trouble?
I got involved typically as any regular actor gets involved. Had to go through the casting process. And so for any younger actors out there, I would just suggest that don't ever feel as though anything that you ever do reflects negatively on you, because the casting person on this was a woman named Joanna Merlin. And she had become familiar with me through having seen me on the stage in 2 or 3 different plays in New York. And actors are always insecure about how it is that they're coming across, how they're, how good they are and everything. And she was always just a good supporter of mine. And so all that insecurity was just kind of relieved when I got into the casting room. And she brought me in with having prepared, she wanted me to prepare the Wang Chi role and the role I ended up doing. And so John was there, and this is probably the most memorable experience I had on the whole shoot, was the audition itself. I started doing Eddie, the role that I ended up doing first, and he gets up from his chair and he's doing the cliche, looking at me through his hands like this as a viewfinder, and he's moving around the room. And I tried my best not to be distracted and just to continue doing it. And so I just thought that was a laugh. But got done doing that, and Joanna said, "Now, would you like to see him do Wang Chi?" And he simply just said, "No, I like what he's doing with this." Audition ends, didn't hear anything for about a week. Agent called, got the job. So that's one of the things. But I think anybody out there would be interested to know that there was a little question mark in some of us, our cast members' minds about what the tone was with the script, whether or not, we could have to be comic with it or, kind of poke fun at it. So one day, about 2 weeks in, I went up to John. He hardly ever talked to us. At least he never talked to me. And so I just wanted to know, "Hey, John, you haven't said anything to me really. And I was just wondering if, I'm on the right path here." He said, "Just keep on having fun." Just keep on having fun. No, you guys are doing great. So, the only other thing was our wrap day, my last day. John Carpenter didn't allow any of the cast members to see any of the dailies. And, we were really surprised, pleasantly surprised. It was all rough cut, kind of stuff. There was no music, just basic scenes. And then we decided to go to the set to say goodbye to everybody. And about this thing that I was pointing to about people's question mark in their mind about the tone and how they were playing things, somehow Kirk got wind that Kate and I went ahead and saw dailies, and he kind of just sheepishly came up to us and he said, "How is it? How we doing here? Because I think he was a little unsure about, what it was that he was doing. And I said, "Listen, man, you're fine. Just keep on doing what you're doing." And so that relieved him of any tension, I think. So, and I think we got the tone right.
Question for Keith. And I believe you were a Wing Kong. What's it like to see yourself on the screen 40 years later?
Well, you missed it because it was only a second. So, and then I got killed 7 other times. So, yeah, I got into this business by accident. I was going with my uncle Nathan who was in the picture with my teachers, Jeff and Dan. And I was just eating the food services. And our stunt coordinator came by and said, "What do you do? This is a secured area." And I went, well, that big dude is my uncle. He goes, "Well, let's play a trick on him. Come with me and I'll dress you up." So I dressed up and I was in the next scene with my uncle. And that's how I got the picture. Yeah, I never did anything after that. I got a couple more pictures with him. And then I went into law enforcement. So that was it. So, yeah.
And then Yukio, how did you get involved in the project?
Like any stunt person, you wait for a call. And when the call comes, you're happy. To go on this set, it was more than just happy because, like I mentioned earlier, I was 30. And a lot of the other guys, I'm sorry, Gerald, I know you caught it. I'm just saying you guys are older than me. But they were the masters. They're the ones that I looked up to. Getting the job to work with them was fun. It was amazing. A lot of the other sets, like I said earlier, being an Asian, and I'll always pat the guys on the back for getting the work that's hard to get. I had to get a real job to get my son insurance. But to get on Big Trouble in Little China, they weren't SAG people. They were just fortunate to get hired for a John Carpenter picture and be on the lot. I'm going to give you a story. My instructor, martial art Ted Tabora from Gardena, was on the set, which was a privilege for me to work with. Danny Nasanto, your instructor, was on the set, another person privileged to be working with. But we were sitting around the Pork Chop Express just hanging out. I'm standing on the side, and somebody's kind of choosing on my instructor, younger. You know, Master Tabora was like 45, 50, and this other guy was younger. But he was choosing him on. I'm going, uh-oh. Sure enough, I don't know did you guys see it? Teddy went bam, 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 knocked that guy back against the wheels of the Pork Chop Express and just went, I was like, wow. This wouldn't happen on other sets, but these guys, they do have egos, I gotta admit. But it was an amazing day that day with all of these guys going, whoa, you don't pick on an old guy that knows what he's doing. That young guy was just crazy. Getting the job was a privilege. Getting any job is a privilege for a stunt person of color. I know guys out there that are still trying to crack that nut, and I give them credit for keep doing it.
And then Daryl Chan, you played both sides. You were a double agent. How did you get involved in the production, and what's your fondest memory of being involved in it?
Well, this is a funny story. Big Trouble in Little China was actually the very first film that I worked on. And I had driven down from San Francisco to work on this. My uncle had a friend, her name was Esther Lee Johnson, and she was connected with the Screen Extras Guild. So actually, I got on this film through her as an extra. I was trying to get my SAG card, because I wanted to be a stunt guy. And when she got me on that, I was just so excited because I got to work with, some of the top martial artists and stunt guys in the business, and all these guys behind me. Jeff, Gerald, James, George, all these guys, and a few who sadly aren't with us today. Bill Ryusaki, Bill Saito, but I was just so excited. And Yukio too, I met him on the show, and I was just so excited to work on it. And so I started off as a Chang Sing. And then I got killed off and went, I got to find a way to stay on this because I still got to get my SAG card. And so I came back, and I went to Hollywood to a makeup store, and I got a beard. And it was a really full beard. And I remember Jeff Amato saw me, he goes, hey, you look Jewish. Because it was so big of a beard. The only thing that I was missing was my curly, sideburns to play Hasidic Jew, But that was a funny memory. I always remember Jeff said, "You look Jewish," and the AD he looked at me and goes, "You do look different." Okay, you're on. You're still on. And so then we finished that, and there was actually one more scene I was in, and it wasn't a Wing Kong or a Chang Sing. It was one of the patrons in the brothel. The part where the whole place is like falling apart with the earthquake and all that, and all the guys run out of the rooms, and we're running down the hallway. I was one of them. And it was funny because when the ADs came over and said, "Okay, you know what? You're running out of this room. You're with a woman. You got to at least take off your shoes and run barefoot." I went, "Oh, man, I don't think they're going to see my feet." But took off my shoes. We're running down the hallway, and one of the girls, playing one of the prostitutes, stomped on my foot with her spiked heel. And so my face on screen, when I'm like, that was real. I was hurting. She almost put a hole in my foot. But yeah, that was another great memory from that. Yeah, when Gerald got in touch with me for this, I said, "Well, Gerald, that was my first film. I was only an extra. I was trying to get my SAG card, which I eventually got, and ended up working with all these guys back here." But he said, "Hey, you were involved with it. You got to come." So here I am. And thanks, Gerald.
And last but not least, we have R.C. Bautista. Yeah, why don't you tell us about your experience?
I was just one of the fighters getting my ass kicked. They put me in different spots, and actually Romel Moore's my cousin, the one that kidnapped the girl. Yeah, so from then on, just pursued movie business and become a stunt coordinator.
Very good. One thing before we open this up to the audience, I just wanted to acknowledge some of the some other people that are here and made the effort to come out to see everybody and see the screening. We have Philip Rhee and Simon Rhee from the Best of the Best movie. Yeah. As well as Willie Leong is here. Willie Leong, thank you for coming. All right, we're going to open it up for a couple of questions. So if anybody would like to ask a question over here, you're probably best to come over here because I don't think these things are going to reach.
Good evening. I just want to really say I want to thank you guys for putting this film together. It changed my life. I was a kid growing up in San Francisco working in an office, and you guys gave me a dream. And I watched this movie like everybody else back in the 80s. And I said, man, I got to do that. I saw Jeff in all these movies. I went, that's the same guy in that movie. And this movie is Steel Justice with Peter Kwong, the late Peter Kwong. And then I came down here, started working in the business with all you guys right here, all the stunt guys right here. And just want to really say thanks to John Carpenter and Craig and all you guys and the team in front of the camera. Daryl, I've known for like 30-something years, and Joycelyn. So that's what this movie has meant. It's changed my life. It allowed me to come down to Hollywood to follow a dream as a kid, and it wasn't too bad. So thank you guys.
Shout out to everybody. The film is just, I think, you would never be able to make this film today or in the future with the current climate of the entertainment industry, and I think that's a sad thing. My question specifically is for Jeff. You guys did wire work before wire work became cool, like Crouching Tiger and The Matrix, with Dennis and Peter flying through the air. I mean, how did you guys frame that? Because it's framed so beautifully for that action scene when they're flying with the swords. Was that Dean or was that you? And it was so ahead of its time.
Well, James was the fight coordinator on there, and at the time there was really not a lot of wire work being done at that point. I mean, when they did wires back then, it was usually piano wire, and you had to be careful about how you use piano wire because it would snap. But on Big Trouble in Little China, we used a lot of, we did a lot of stuff where they had, like you'd see somebody spinning through the air, and it would be a dummy spinning through the air. And then Dennis Dunn jumping through the air or running upside down. There's a lot of camera tricks. We use like a trampoline, right, James? And we have a trampoline so you get the aerial view. So there's very little wire work actually with real people. So generally when you saw somebody extended period of time doing something acrobatic, it was usually a dummy or double, shooting it in two or three different pieces. I mean, even Dennis Dunn running upside down over the arch. We had a set piece where the arch was upside down already, so we'd do a beginning step, and then you'd have the set piece upside down. You see him running this way with the camera upside down, and then finishing the landing where he just steps down. So then he cut it all together to make it look like he actually went upside down. Wow. So there's a lot of tricks that John came up with to try and make the visuals very real looking and have it come across really well.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
No, I'm going to be embarrassing. This is my wife, Valerie. This is our anniversary. It's our 17th wedding anniversary. That's how damn good this movie is. It brings us up when we're down. We watch it and have it. If we're in an action mood, we watch it. A supernatural mood, we watch it. So again, as everyone said so far, thank you for Big Trouble in Little China, you guys, sincerely. My question is going to be specifically for Steve and Mr. Masters. I want to know, what was the hardest creature or effect to achieve on that film? And also, if you could talk about what it's like working with Noble Craig, because that's really interesting.
Boy, the hardest one, God, I don't know what the hardest one. I mean, the most complicated one was definitely the flying eye. That was quite an accomplishment of engineering. The toughest one for me is I sculpted the Lopan old age makeup, and that was really difficult because, it's an age makeup, and it could have ruined the movie if it was terribly done. I actually thought it looked good tonight. Normally, thanks, guys. Normally, I think it's overdone when I see it, but I'm wearing sunglasses tonight, so I thought it looked really good.
You mentioned Noble Craig. He was amazing. If you didn't really see him in the movie because he played the sewer monster. He's inside the sewer. There's 2 shots of the sewer monster. Huge build for 2 shots. Noble was in the military. He stepped out of an helicopter over in Vietnam and onto a mine and blew all his limbs off except for one. I think it was his right arm. And he was phenomenal. He was in, if you remember, he did that one. He was the vomit monster, great resume, sewer monster, vomit monster. He was the vomit monster in Poltergeist 2 that Steve also created. I don't remember what show it was, but if some premiere, he shows up in this gigantic car, hops out, driving, of course, and he would then, go around and let the door open for his wife, and it was just like, this guy could do anything with his one arm. He roofed his own house. He was phenomenal. He was quite a guy. If you could look him up, Noble Craig, barely seen in this movie, but thank you for calling him out.
In the sewer creature, he actually was wearing a motorcycle helmet, and we made lightweight, springy legs that stuck onto the helmet, and he's just shaking his head and making the legs as the monster comes back in. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
First off, thank you all for making this movie. It's had a huge impact on my life. It was a safe space for me as a little boy when I was going through some tough times. Proud to have it on my skin for the remainder of my life. I would like to know from all of you, how would you describe Victor Wong and his contributions to the film? I know that he suffered a tragedy shortly before the filming of that first scene at the beginning of the movie. What can you guys say when it comes to Victor Wong?
If any of you want to comment on this.
He was high. All through the movie. Why is my favorite character?
And he... Victor was great. He contributed a lot, and even though he had a slight stroke and stuff, he made that work for him, and I think he came across as a character. I think he had, as you all know, it added a lot. I mean, his contribution as an actor was a lot in that film. So, and as far as being high, were you with him most of the time? That's how you know George. Yeah, thank you all for coming and enjoying it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's give them a hand, everyone. Cast and crew, Big Trouble in Little China. Thanks for hanging out. Get home safe.
Well, there you have it. 40 years of Big Trouble in Little China, and an amazing group of actors, stunt people, and crew sharing their experiences during an unforgettable night. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of 5 Minutes of Trouble. You can find past episodes where we covered the film 5 minutes at a time on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and 5minutesoftrouble.com. It has been a long time between episodes, but hopefully Brett and I will return to talk more trouble in the future. And so, with all of that, this is the Podcast Express signing off. Thank you for listening to 5 Minutes of Trouble.